In order to understand the UN human rights system, it is necessary to begin with a brief outline of the UN itself. We will see that agencies responsible for the protection and promulgation of human rights are part of a much broader institutional structure. Before we start, we need to know what exactly is United Nations. The international organization known as the United Nations was founded in 1945 after the already existent League of Nations failed to live up to its aim, as it did not prevent the Second World War. In 1945, 51 countries signed the UN's charter to dedicate to maintain international peace and security. Today, the United Nations have 192 members and many peacekeeping operations. It is an organization that maintains international peace and security, developing friendly relations between nations and member states, the promotion of social progress, better living standards, and human rights. While the original charter proclaims the need for global peace, the UN works on fundamental issues such as sustainable development, environment and refugee protection, disaster relief, terrorism, disarmament, and non-proliferation to promoting democracy. Human rights, gender equality, and the advancement of women, governance, economic and social development, health, and more to ensure to its most extent in achieving its goals and coordinate efforts for a safer world for the present and future generations. Article 55 and 56, which need to be read together, are the basis for the UN's human rights activities. They state, with a view to the creation of conditions of stability and well-being which are necessary for peaceful and friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of people. The United Nations shall promote higher standards of living, full employment, and conditions of economic and social progress and development. B. Solutions of international economic, social, health, and related problems, and international cultural and educational cooperation. And C. Universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Article 56. All members pledge themselves to take joint and separate action in cooperation with the organization for the achievement of the purposes set forth in Article 55. There is little doubt that in retrospect, Article 55 and 56 have been accorded far greater importance than was envisaged by the drafters of the Charter. At the San Francisco Conference 1945, which preceded the establishment of the UN, it had been suggested that United Nations Charter should contain a Bill of Rights. A lack of time at the conference meant that this was not pursued, but it was decided that the General Assembly of then envisaged organization would consider the proposal and give it effect. Article 55 and 56 were included to ensure that such matters were thus under the purview of the organization. The Charter is the institutional terms, a skeleton that must be fleshed out by practice. How, for example, are the objectives in Article 55 and 56 to be achieved? The Charter provides little, if any, guidance. The challenges facing the drafters of the Charter were immense. They needed to create a set of strong institutions that were able to achieve the objectives above. But on the basis of the principles set out in Article 2 and with the distribution of power that was agreeable enough to persuade states to join and stay as members, let alone work together. It is worth bearing in mind that the League of Nations, the UN's predecessor, failed because, in part, major powers such as the US did not join and many other states withdrew over time. Thus, in the context of the UN, we need to examine how the principles underpinning the UN interface with its institutional structure and then isolate those elements of the structure that are most directly concerned with promoting and protecting human rights.